¿Crees que conoces bien esta historia? La historia de un cuello largo y curvado que atraviesa la superficie brumosa de un lago escocés. Tal vez recuerdes la imagen de una fotografía en blanco y negro, granulada, un poco borrosa, que se ha convertido en uno de los iconos más reconocibles de este enigmático relato. Más de una vez, esta leyenda del monstruo del lago Ness ha sido objeto de acalorados debates, entre aquellos que creen en su existencia y los escépticos que rechazan cualquier posibilidad de la presencia de criaturas desconocidas en las profundidades de este lago. Esta historia es un cuento acogedor que nos contaron desde niños, como una leyenda mágica que se transmite de generación en generación. Pero, ¿y si te dijera que todo esto es solo una ilusión? Que detrás de la hermosa y enigmática leyenda se esconde una historia mucho más compleja, inquietante y extraordinaria. Una historia en la que participan no solo los lugareños y apasionados criptozoólogos, sino también santos del siglo VI, la inteligencia militar británica, laboratorios científicos líderes en genética e incluso las leyes de la física cuántica. Antes de sumergirnos en lo más importante, me gustaría pedirte un pequeño apoyo. Tu me gusta y atención son el mejor agradecimiento por el trabajo realizado. Te lo agradezco. This image was immediately classified, hidden from public view. It did not fit into any of the known theories, neither the plesiosaur version nor the giant eel. It looked entirely different, as if pointing to something else, something that suggested that in the dark waters of Loch Ness lies not just an unknown animal, but something much more astonishing and dangerous. An anomaly that challenges our understanding of reality itself. This investigation is not another retelling of myths or legends, but an attempt to look at the oldest and most tangled case in the history of cryptozoology. We are about to open access to archives you have never heard of and analyze data kept classified for decades. And our main goal is to answer the key question, what truly hides in Loch Ness? And the answer will be far more shocking and fundamental than any story of a prehistoric monster, because the real mystery is not who or what lives in the lake, but the reasons for its presence there. To understand the true nature of Loch Ness, we must embark on a journey through time, but not to the year 1933 when the modern myth appeared, but much earlier to the 6th century AD, an era that seemed entirely different from our present day. In those times, Scotland was not yet called by that name. It was Caledonia, the land of the Picts, fierce warriors covered in tattoos who worshipped the old gods of earth and water. The Roman Empire was already in decline, leaving behind a power vacuum and chaos. Para entender la verdadera naturaleza del lago Ness, es necesario emprender un viaje en el tiempo. Pero no al año 33, cuando surgió el mito moderno, sino mucho antes, al siglo VI de nuestra era, una época que parecía muy diferente a la nuestra. En esos tiempos, Escocia aún no se llamaba así. Era Caledonia, la tierra de los Pictos, feroces guerreros cubiertos de tatuajes que adoraban a los antiguos dioses de la tierra y el agua. El Imperio Romano ya estaba en decadencia, dejando tras de sí un vacío de poder y caos. Fue entonces cuando misioneros de la nueva religión, el cristianismo, llegaron desde Irlanda a través del mar tempestuoso a estas tierras salvajes y deshabitadas. El más poderoso de ellos era un hombre llamado Columba. No era un predicador humilde, sino más bien un aristócrata, guerrero y político. Fue exiliado de Irlanda por participar en una sangrienta guerra y por el derecho a copiar un salterio. Columba era un hombre de fe ardiente y voluntad inquebrantable. En el año 653, fundó un monasterio en la isla de Iona, un lugar que se convirtió en el centro de la cristianización de toda Escocia. La historia contada en la Vita Columbae impresiona por su rica detallación y profundidad. San Columba, viajando por las tierras de los Pictos, una vez llegó al río Ness, que fluía desde un gran lago. En la orilla, notó un grupo de lugareños realizando una danza ritual. En el centro de este rito yacía un hombre que, según los Pictos, había sido asesinado y arrastrado bajo el agua por un monstruo acuático, el Aquatilus, una bestia de las profundidades. Esta escena impactó a Columba, ya que fue testigo no solo de un incidente casual, sino más bien de una manifestación de las antiguas creencias y mitos de este pueblo. El santo, deseando cruzar al otro lado, ordenó a su discípulo, Luin Mokumin, que remara adelante y guiara el bote. Cuando el bote llegó al centro del río, de repente surgió un enorme monstruo de las profundidades acuáticas. Rugía y con la boca abierta se dirigió directamente hacia el bote, causando terror entre los pictos y los compañeros de Columba. En ese momento, parecía que la terrible criatura estaba a punto de devorarlos a todos, pero el santo, sin inmutarse, levantó la mano, hizo la señal de la cruz en el aire y pronunció en voz alta palabras que sonaban como un trueno. «No te acerques más, no toques a este hombre, vete inmediatamente». En respuesta a sus palabras, el monstruo, como si temiera la fuerza de su fe, retrocedió repentinamente y desapareció en las profundidades del agua. Durante siglos, esta historia se ha percibido como uno de los muchos milagros atribuidos al santo. En la hagiografía clásica, así se representa su victoria sobre los demonios paganos, símbolos de las antiguas creencias. El monstruo en el río probablemente no era un animal real, sino una personificación del paganismo, que según la creencia, retrocede ante la fuerza de la cruz y la fe. Sin embargo, ¿qué pasa si miramos estos eventos no solo a través del prisma de las leyendas, sino desde el punto de vista de un historiador? Adamnano, uno de los cronistas más meticulosos de su tiempo, nos dejó una descripción de esta historia. Su vida de Columba no es solo una colección de relatos fabulosos, sino un documento valioso que refleja la vida, la política y las creencias espirituales de los pictos. Adamnano lo escribió para personas que vivían en la misma época y en la misma realidad. Si hubiera inventado esta historia, no tendría ningún significado ni fuerza. Toda ella debía basarse en las creencias y tradiciones reales que existían entre los pictos. Y estas creencias realmente existían, eran parte de su mundo espiritual. En los antiguos mitos celtas, el agua siempre se consideraba como una frontera entre los mundos, así como un lugar de residencia de seres sobrenaturales. El más famoso de ellos era el kelpie, un caballo de agua o espíritu acuático que podía tomar la forma de un hermoso caballo. Atraía a los viajeros a su lomo y luego los arrastraba bajo el agua para devorarlos. En los mitos y el folclore de los pueblos escoceses, casi cada lago tenía su propio monstruo o guardián, lo que indicaba una profunda conexión entre los cuerpos de agua y las fuerzas misteriosas. No eran solo cuentos de miedo, sino mitos que ocultaban un peligro real. El lago Ness no es solo un estanque, sino un vasto y traicionero cuerpo de agua, cuya profundidad alcanza los 230 metros. Su agua es fría como el hielo y mantiene una baja temperatura durante todo el año. Sus escarpadas orillas crean un fenómeno meteorológico único. El aire frío de las montañas puede descender repentinamente, provocando fuertes ráfagas de viento huracanado. Estos vientos pueden levantar en el lago olas cortas, empinadas y muy peligrosas, capaces de arrastrar incluso a nadadores experimentados. A lo largo de la historia, miles de personas han perecido en estas aguas oscuras, ahogándose en su helada profundidad. Las leyendas sobre monstruos que habitan el lago servían como una forma de transmitir de generación en generación ese mismo peligro, una advertencia. No te acerques al agua, porque allí se esconde la muerte. Él, como un hábil maestro del espectáculo político, aprovechó este momento con extraordinaria destreza. No solo expulsó al monstruo que, al parecer, había perseguido las fantasías humanas durante siglos, sino que demostró al mundo entero que su Dios era una fuerza que superaba a todos los dioses adorados por los antiguos. En ese momento, realizó un acto no solo de conquista religiosa, sino también espiritual, transformando las percepciones sobre la naturaleza y lo que se podía considerar un enemigo invisible. Así, la historia de San Columba se convirtió no solo en la primera mención escrita de una criatura misteriosa que habitaba en las profundidades del lago Ness, sino en un momento en el que de las antiguas leyendas y mitos nació una leyenda registrada en documentos históricos. Fue ese momento decisivo cuando el antiguo temor a las fuerzas de la naturaleza, que durante mucho tiempo mantuvo a los pueblos en miedo y reverencia, fue capturado, reinterpretado y puesto al servicio de una nueva ideología. El monstruo, que antes se asociaba con el caos y la amenaza, no fue destruido. Fue bautizado, recibió un nuevo nombre y se retiró a las sombras, a las profundidades de la conciencia popular, donde permaneció dormido y escondido durante casi 1500 años. Se ocultó allí, en un rincón olvidado de la memoria, hasta que fueron revividos sus rugidos y la cálida luz de las explosiones lo despertó nuevamente. Durante casi 1500 años, este monstruo durmió, viviendo silenciosamente en susurros junto a las chimeneas, en cuentos que las abuelas contaban a sus nietos, transmitiendo de generación en generación secretos y leyendas. El lago Ness era solo uno de los muchos lagos escoceses que se destacaba por su belleza, vida silvestre y lejanía de la civilización. Las tierras altas de Escocia eran casi un mundo mítico, separado del resto de Gran Bretaña, no solo por montañas, sino también por un abismo cultural que dividía dos mundos. They watched its surface for hours, observing its calmness, which seemed so serene and deceptively quiet, creating a sense of innocence and tranquility. But the human mind is such that it seeks order in chaos. In the play of light and shadow on the water's surface, it searched for familiar shapes, familiar silhouettes, and it found them. And so, on one of those days, May 29, 1933, the local newspaper, the Inverness Courier, published a small article that soon became known worldwide. This modest newspaper piece was written by their correspondent, Alex Campbell, who was also a bailiff and lake warden. The article described an unusual sight observed by local residents. He called it a strange and mysterious phenomenon on the surface of Loch Ness. At the heart of the British Empire lay a mystery shrouded in secrecy and historical legends. This mysterious object, which attracted the attention of many and aroused genuine interest, was something more than just a myth or fiction. Its existence seemed almost impossible, and that is why it became a real sensation, causing a storm of emotions and debates among scientists, journalists, and ordinary mystery enthusiasts. In those days, when rumors about the monster began to spread, no one could yet precisely understand what lay behind this image. But everyone was certain of one thing. The story of the monster dwelling by the lake had taken on a life of its own and became part of popular culture. It was only a few months after the first reports emerged, in July 1933, when an event occurred that firmly established the creature's image in the public consciousness. It was then, at the height of this sensation, that something happened which gave the legend its final shape. George Spicer and his wife, both London businessmen, were traveling in their car along a familiar road, the A82, which ran along the picturesque shores of the lake. On one quiet day, as they drove and enjoyed the scenery, something astonishing suddenly appeared before them. At a distance of about 200 meters, right before their eyes, something occurred that forever changed their perception. A figure crossed the road in front of them, which, according to their account, could not have been a deer, a cow, or any known animal. Spicer later recounted that the creature was so unusual that he compared it to the closest prehistoric animal he had ever seen. He described it as having a long, undulating neck and a massive, ungainly body with no visible limbs. The movement of this mysterious creature was jerky, and then it disappeared into the thickets by the lake, leaving behind only a mysterious shadow. Spicer himself was deeply shaken. His story, published in newspapers, had the effect of a bombshell. It shocked public opinion and sparked a wave of discussions, and most importantly, a clear image of this creature formed in people's minds. Its description, a long neck, a humped body, became the basis for the recognizable silhouette associated with a plesiosaur, familiar to many from the pages of popular dinosaur books. This image firmly entrenched itself in the public consciousness and became one of the symbols of the monster legend. A real wave of tourists, journalists, and adventurers then flooded the shores of Loch Ness. Everyone wanted to see the monster with their own eyes, and many of them, despite skepticism, claimed to have seen it. People described seeing anything in the water. Sometimes they encountered logs, flocks of birds, or waves from passing boats. And all this imagination, fueled by newspaper articles and eyewitness accounts, filled in the missing details. As a result, a real sensation began, which lasted several years. In 1933, Bertram Mills Circus even offered a reward of £20,000 sterling, today more than $1.5 million, to anyone who could capture the monster alive. This sum seemed incredible, and many adventurers tried to catch or at least photograph the mysterious monster to become famous and wealthy. But for the legend of Nessie to become truly immortal, a mere story was not enough. An image was needed, vivid, memorable, iconic. And this image appeared in April 1934 and forever entered history as one of the most famous depictions of the monster. El movimiento de esta enigmática criatura era a trompicones, y luego desapareció en la maleza junto al lago, dejando tras de sí solo una sombra misteriosa. El propio Spicer quedó profundamente conmocionado. Su relato, publicado en los periódicos, tuvo el efecto de una bomba. Sacudió la opinión pública y provocó una ola de discusiones. Y, lo más importante, en la mente de la gente apareció una imagen clara de esta criatura. Su descripción, cuello largo, cuerpo jorobado, se convirtió en la base para formar una silueta reconocible, asociada con un plesiosaurio, bien conocido por muchas de las páginas de libros populares sobre dinosaurios. Esta imagen se arraigó firmemente en la conciencia colectiva y se convirtió en uno de los símbolos de la leyenda del monstruo. Entonces, una verdadera oleada de turistas, periodistas y buscadores de aventuras inundó las orillas del lago Ness. Todos querían ver al monstruo con sus propios ojos, y muchos de ellos, a pesar del escepticismo, afirmaban haberlo visto. La gente describía en el agua cualquier cosa, desde troncos flotantes hasta bandadas de aves, o las olas de los botes que pasaban, y toda esta imaginación, alimentada por artículos de periódicos y relatos de testigos, completaba los detalles que faltaban. Como resultado, comenzó una verdadera sensación que continuó durante varios años. At the time, it was popular to have a dried hippopotamus foot as a souvenir, used as an umbrella stand. Someone wanting to stir up the public took such a foot and, by faking the tracks, created false evidence of the monster's presence. When this news became known, the Daily Mail, feeling humiliated and deceived, publicly ridiculed Wetherill. He became the center of public mockery, his name turned into a joke, and his reputation was ruined. Such a blow to his authority caused a wave of indignation and outrage. In response, Wetherill decided to take revenge, cruelly, elegantly, and in such a way that his response would go down in history. He gathered a team of accomplices, united by the desire to pass off a fake as the truth and thus leave their mark in the history of the hunt for the mysterious creature. The team included his son Ian and his adopted nephew Christian Sperling, known as a master of creating models and mock-ups. It was Sperling who became the creator of the artificial monster. He bought a toy submarine from a store and made its neck and head from wood putty and led to give the model a more realistic appearance. The construction was quite unstable, but it was sufficient for the few photographs they intended to take. Next, the conspirators sought a respectable witness, a person with an impeccable reputation who could deliver the photos to the press and lend them the appearance of genuine evidence. This person was their longtime friend, a surgeon named Robert Wilson. He agreed to play his part to help them execute the plan. In April 1934, Wetherill and his son went to the lake, launched their toy submarine, and took several famous photographs of the artificial monster. Afterward, Wilson, as if nothing had happened, brought these photos to the Daily Mail editorial office. The newspaper, which had laughed at Wetherill just the day before, now triumphantly published the evidence provided by the respected doctor. The revenge was complete. The secret of this grand hoax was kept for 60 years. All the conspirators took their secret to the grave, revealing it to no one. Only in 1994, on his deathbed, did the 90-year-old Christian Sperling, the creator of the monster model, decide to confess. He handed over the last irrefutable evidence to researchers, the original unprocessed photographs clearly showing the model. In the 1960s, an unusual and somewhat mysterious bureau was founded in the UK called the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau, or LNIB for short. This organization was unique and distinctive. It included people from various professions and fields, parliamentarians, scientists, businessmen, and simply enthusiastic researchers united by a single goal. The entire team was bound by a common passion for unraveling the mysteries of Loch Ness and a desire to find answers to long-standing questions. Leading this team was Sir Peter Scott, a naturalist and artist by profession, the son of the famous polar explorer Robert Scott, whose father was renowned for his Arctic expeditions. Under his leadership, a large-scale observation network around the lake was deployed. They created a real surveillance system, which included permanent observation posts equipped with movie cameras, mobile patrols on boats, and, most importantly, hydrophones or sonars. Sonar is a device that essentially allows one to see underwater using sound. In this project, it sent sound impulses that, reflecting off various underwater objects, be it the bottom, fish, rocks, or other natural formations, returned back. By analyzing the echo's travel time and its characteristics, specialists could create a fairly accurate acoustic map of the lake's underwater world. At the time, this was one of the most advanced military technologies, and it was successfully applied for research purposes, yielding initial results. However, these results turned out to be quite unusual and rather alarming. Sonar operators, tirelessly monitoring the screen, began to detect strange contacts that did not fit the usual notions of underwater life in the lake. They did not resemble schools of fish, logs, or other common objects. These were large solitary formations, moving at great depths with high speed, performing unusual maneuvers unattainable by any known inhabitant of Loch Ness. Sometimes these objects would hover motionless, as if floating in the water, and then swiftly vanish into the depths. At other times, several such objects moved in unison, as if acting in a group, which only heightened the sense of their peculiarity and mystery. The recorded data, collected in dozens, remained without visual confirmation. Only ghostly peaks appeared on the screen, resembling shadows or figures on an oscilloscope, which were difficult to decipher and explain. The most famous and, at the same time, the most controversial data were obtained in the 70s by an American team led by Dr. Robert Rines, a specialist from the Academy of Applied Science. This man was not only a lawyer and inventor, but also a passionate researcher who dedicated part of his life to the search for Nessie, the famous Loch Ness monster. He brought the most advanced equipment of the time to the site: underwater cameras synchronized with sonar, allowing for photo and video capture at the moment of detecting interesting objects. The idea was to automatically activate flash-equipped cameras when the sonar was triggered, capturing even the smallest details of underwater objects. In 1972 and 1975, Rines' team obtained a series of photographs that shocked the public and sparked a wave of discussions. Among these images, a blurry, greenish photo stood out, showing a large fin resembling a rhomboid structure. Other photos depicted figures with humps and even a head resembling a sea gargoyle. Something mysterious and controversial. Particularly striking was a close-up image clearly showing two horn-like protrusions, leading Rines to speculate that he had captured a plesiosaur. He even named this creature the Nessie Wonder and noted its rhomboid fin, which in his opinion, in the area of Urquhart Bay, near the famous Loch Ness, an unusual object was detected on sonar screens in an instant. It appeared at a depth of about 180 meters and immediately caught the attention of researchers. This object was much larger than any living creature typically found in these waters. Its size exceeded all known species of animals inhabiting the lake, and it remained on the screen for only a few seconds, as if demonstrating its mysterious nature. Then, as if evaporating, it swiftly disappeared into the bottomless depths, where the sonars could no longer track it. This event sparked a wave of discussions among the operation's participants. The organizers claimed that they likely established contact with an unknown creature, but skeptics immediately voiced different opinions. They suggested that the images might have shown a thermocline, a sharp boundary between water layers of different temperatures, which often causes false sonar echoes. There were also theories about possible debris from a Wellington bomber that crashed in the lake during World War II. Ultimately, despite all the assumptions, previous attempts to uncover the mystery of Sonara did not lead to a definitive answer. The era of searching for the monster with sonars and cameras ended in vain, leaving more questions than answers. It was evident that something strange and inexplicable was happening in the lake, but understanding what exactly remained elusive. Acoustic ghosts continued to evade, as if playing hide and seek, leaving only confusion and growing disappointment among researchers. It became clear that a new approach was needed, a new tool capable of not just hearing or seeing the unknown monster, but reading its genetic code, its inner essence. Against the backdrop of decades of unsuccessful attempts to capture a shadow, it seemed that the mystery of the lake had reached an impasse. However, at the beginning of the 21st century, a true revolution occurred in biology, providing scientists with a tool they had only dreamed of before. This tool was capable of finding not the monster itself, but its invisible trace in the water, a trace left in the form of genetic information. The name of this new method is environmental DNA analysis, or eDNA. The idea proved to be remarkably simple and at the same time ingenious. Every living creature inhabiting the water constantly leaves behind tiny particles: skin, mucus, excrement. As a result, the water in the lake turns into a kind of diluted genetic soup, containing the DNA of all its inhabitants, from tiny bacteria to giant fish. By taking a water sample, passing it through special equipment, extracting and analyzing all the DNA present with modern sequencers, one can obtain a complete picture of the living world in this body of water. It can be said that, even without seeing a single animal directly in the water, one can know who inhabits it. In 2018, a group of international scientists led by Professor Neil Gemmell from the University of Otago in New Zealand decided to apply this technology to finally resolve the mystery of Loch Ness, in this case, Lake Sonara. This became the most extensive and systematic study of the body of water in history. Over 2 weeks, scientists collected 250 water samples from different parts and depths of the lake. After that, meticulous work began in the laboratory. There they extracted billions of DNA fragments from the water and compared them with vast genetic information databases from around the world. The results were not long in coming. Human DNA was found, which was quite logical given the large number of tourists, as well as DNA from domestic animals: dogs, sheep, cows, which are kept on nearby farms. Scientists found DNA from dozens of species of birds, deer, and badgers. They also discovered DNA from 11 species of fish, including salmon. Research conducted in recent years did not yield the expected results. Scientists were unable to detect DNA from the giant sturgeon or the Greenland shark, which were considered some of the most likely candidates for the role of the mysterious Loch Ness monster. The hypothesis of a surviving dinosaur, which had long intrigued minds and sparked numerous speculations, was also definitively disproven. As a result, one might think that the story was finally over, that the mystery was solved, and that no monster exists in the depths of this lake. Everything turned out to be simpler and more prosaic. There is no monster. But at that very moment, Gemmell and his team made an astonishing discovery that overturned all previous assumptions and raised new questions. They found something remarkable, one unusual anomaly that was present in every single water sample they took from Loch Ness, regardless of the sampling location. This anomaly was the presence of eel DNA, European eel, which they found in vast quantities. And what was particularly surprising was that DNA from this creature was found in every sample, regardless of where it was taken. Gemmell stated that eels are very numerous in the body of water, which in itself was already interesting. They were found almost everywhere, in any part of the lake where samples were taken. Thus, a new, very elegant, and simultaneously scientifically grounded hypothesis emerged. Namely, what if the existence of Nessie is not the result of an extinct prehistoric monster, but simply a consequence of the presence of a large and possibly very old eel in the water? This idea is not new. Such assumptions have been made before, but there was no serious confirmation. Now, thanks to genetic analysis, there is an opportunity to look at the problem from a different perspective. European eels are amazing and mysterious creatures. They are born in the Sargasso Sea, located in the Atlantic Ocean. After birth, their larvae drift with the Gulf Stream for 3 years to the shores of Europe. There they ascend rivers and live in fresh water, in lakes, rivers, ponds, sometimes reaching lengths of 60 to 80 centimeters. But there are cases where individuals, for some reason unable to return to the ocean to spawn, continue to grow and can reach gigantic sizes. In the rivers and lakes of Europe, eels 2 to 3 meters long have been caught repeatedly, and some marine relatives, such as the conger, can reach up to 6 meters. Imagine a huge 4, 5 or even 6-meter eel swimming in the dark and murky waters of Loch Ness. Its long, snake-like body, undulating at the surface, is easily perceived as a series of humps. The head, raised out of the water to gulp air, in poor visibility can resemble a long neck. And its movement at depth is that strange, elongated signal that has puzzled researchers for so long. The giant eel hypothesis seems very logical and elegant. It can explain most observations without resorting to fantastic and prehistoric versions of ancient monsters' existence. It is based on real data about the lake's numerous inhabitants. Of course, this hypothesis does not prove that such giant eels actually live in Loch Ness. So far, no giant has been caught, recorded, or sampled for analysis. However, it shows that the existence of such creatures is quite biologically possible. And among all the theories related to Loch Ness, this one, about the giant eel, remains the only one not yet completely ruled out. Genetic studies have not found any trace of a monster, but they have discovered its exact double, a large snake-like creature that could very well have been the basis of the legend. Thus, the scientific resolution is clear. There is no monster in the lake. Most likely, the legend of Nessie arose either from the deepest crack in the Earth's crust filled with water, a unique natural phenomenon that simultaneously inspires awe and dread. This crack, or rather, well, possesses incredible length and narrowness, and its depth is mind-boggling. The volume of water inside this reservoir exceeds that of all the lakes in England and Wales combined. But it is its water that evokes a special feeling. It is dark, like ink, and completely impenetrable to the eye. The high peat content, washed from the surrounding hills, makes underwater visibility practically zero. Just a few meters deep, an endless darkness reigns in this body of water. This impenetrable darkness creates a powerful psychological effect. We observe this black, silent surface, and our brain, deprived of visual information, begins to actively imagine. It fills the void with its most primal fears, rooted deep in the subconscious. Before us arises the image of darkness, the unknown, and mysterious creatures lurking in the depths. These feelings evoke associations with something unexplored, dangerous and enigmatic in the human mind. Loch Ness is like a giant test that examines our fears and fantasies. In 1933, in an era when myths and legends had long existed, this body of water became even more attractive to legend makers. New ingredients were added: mass media, mass tourism, and the collective unconscious, which sought a miracle in this place. At that time, the world was becoming more rational, scientific, and dull, and it was in this context that the legend of Nessie arose, a myth about a mysterious creature supposedly inhabiting the depths of this lake. The legend of Nessie is a classic example of what sociologists call the social construction of reality. It was not created by monsters or real creatures, but by people, journalists seeking sensational stories, locals who found a source of income in the legend, and thousands of ordinary people eager to believe in a miracle. In this process, an important role is played by the psychological phenomenon known as pareidolia. Our tendency to see familiar shapes, faces, animals, or objects in random patterns explains most of the sightings and interpretations. For instance, a log floating in the mist, a wave from a passing boat, or a flock of swimming birds, all these, under conditions of poor visibility and a strong desire to see a miracle, can easily turn into a long neck or a hump. Then the confirmation bias comes into play. We seek and interpret information in a way that aligns with our pre-existing beliefs. A person visiting Loch Ness hoping to see the monster will subconsciously look for any signs of its presence. Even the slightest splash or movement of water will become evidence of its existence for them. But even after many hoaxes have been exposed, for example, the photograph depicting a surgeon in a sea monster costume, the legend of Nessie has not disappeared. Why? Because the myth proves stronger than the facts. It satisfies our inner need for mystery and enigma, for the idea that our world is not yet fully explored. Deep down, we believe that beyond the everyday experience lie lost worlds and unseen creatures. In the era of satellite imagery, when every meter of land and water is accessible for observation, Loch Ness remains one of the few blank spots on the map. It is the last refuge for dragons and monsters that many have dreamed of and continue to dream about. The economic aspect is no less important. The legend of Nessie is a multi-million-dollar industry that brings enormous revenue to the region. Tourism is the backbone of the Highland economy, and Loch Ness is its heart. The locals, even the most skeptical ones, are interested in preserving the myth because it brings income. These could be giant eels, which do exist in reality, or perhaps unusual wave phenomena like standing waves or seiches that occur on the water's surface. It is also possible that natural gas emissions from the lake's bottom create bubbles and waves that rise and cause astonishing water movements. But all these real physical phenomena pass through our minds, through our perception, imagination, and cultural stereotypes. That is why the image of a monster is born from them. Nessie is not just flesh and blood, it is a creature born from myths and the subconscious. It lives not only in the lake, but also in our minds, in the memory of folk tales, in images passed down from generation to generation. Therefore, it cannot be destroyed by sonar or DNA analysis. This creature is a product of our imagination, our culture, our belief. Our investigation into this enigmatic phenomenon is coming to a close. We have traced the journey of the Nessie legend, from ancient Celtic myths to modern genetic laboratory experiments. We have debunked many hoaxes and explained most of the mysteries associated with this lake. But as in the best detective stories, even after the main suspect is found, questions remain. Questions that provoke anxiety and discomfort, preventing the case from being completely closed. Yes, the hypothesis of a giant eel seems the most plausible, explaining many observations and legends, yet it remains unconfirmed. No one has caught, photographed, or filmed this giant fish, the size of a two-story house. If such creatures do exist, why are they so elusive? How large can they actually be? These questions remain unanswered and require further research. Additionally, there is a need to consider those mysterious sonar contacts recorded at depth. Some of them moved at speeds exceeding the capabilities of any known fish and made sharp vertical maneuvers. Could there be unknown hydrological or geological phenomena in the lake creating acoustic illusions and mirages? Or perhaps we simply do not yet fully understand the behavior and characteristics of the lake's inhabitants? These questions demand further study, as the mysteries of Loch Ness are not limited to legends alone. And finally, the most important, almost philosophical question. If Nessie is merely a product of our imagination, why has this image become so popular? Why is a plesiosaur, this extinct marine creature, associated with this lake? Why has Loch Ness attracted such powerful belief and interest? What is special about this place that it has become a magnet for dreams, belief in miracles, and fantasy? Perhaps the answer lies in our need. We need places where we can leave part of our imagination, where miracles are possible. In a world that is becoming increasingly predictable, controlled by technology and science, we need corners where the impossible is still possible. Loch Ness is not just a large freshwater lake. It is a sanctuary for our imagination, a place where legends are born and the search continues. The story of the search for this mysterious monster is not only a tale of a creature hidden in the depths of the lake. It is a story about ourselves, about our curiosity, our belief in miracles, our desire to understand the unknown. Decades of effort, even if they did not always lead to the desired results, have brought great benefits. They have stimulated the development of new technologies for underwater research, expanded our knowledge of the ecosystem of this unique freshwater lake. They have taught us to distinguish fact from fiction, to see the truth behind layers of legends and hoaxes. The legend of the Loch Ness Monster will likely never completely disappear, and perhaps that is for the best. While people gaze at the dark, quiet waters and wonder, what if there is something in this lake? This investigation is not yet concluded. It is merely transitioning to a new stage of development. This new phase is particularly complex and multifaceted because the line between science and myth becomes so thin that it is sometimes difficult to determine where reality ends and legend begins. It is here, in this space where scientific facts collide with ancient tales and verified knowledge intertwines with beliefs, that a true mystery is born, requiring careful and deep study. In such a situation, it is crucial to maintain objectivity and openness, as it is at this level that the most vivid and intricate questions often arise, questions that have yet to be answered. I sincerely thank everyone who took the time to watch this episode to the end. Your support is invaluable to us, as it is thanks to you that we can continue our work, seek new facts, and share the results of our research with you. Your like, active participation, and subscription to the channel play a crucial role in the development of the project and help us reach new heights. And don't forget to click the bell. This simple action will allow you to stay updated on all new events and fresh episodes. This way, you won't miss any important news, intriguing discoveries, or captivating stories about the mysteries that surround us in this complex and fascinating world. Hemos seguido el camino de la leyenda de Nessie, desde los antiguos mitos celtas hasta los modernos experimentos de laboratorio en genética. Hemos desmentido muchas mistificaciones, explicado la mayoría de los enigmas relacionados con este lago. Pero, como en las mejores historias de detectives, incluso después de que se encuentra al principal sospechoso, quedan preguntas. Preguntas que provocan inquietud e incomodidad, impidiendo cerrar completamente el caso. Sí, la hipótesis de la anguila gigante parece la más plausible, explica muchas observaciones y leyendas, pero aún no está confirmada. Nadie ha atrapado, fotografiado o filmado a este pez gigante del tamaño de una casa de 2 pisos. Si tales criaturas realmente existen, ¿por qué son tan difíciles de atrapar? ¿Qué tan grandes pueden ser en realidad? Estas preguntas siguen sin respuesta y requieren más investigación. Además, vale la pena considerar esos contactos sonar misteriosos que se han registrado en las profundidades. Algunos de ellos se movían a velocidades que superan las capacidades de cualquier pez conocido y realizaban maniobras verticales bruscas. ¿Podrían existir fenómenos hidrológicos o geológicos desconocidos para nosotros en el lago que crean ilusiones acústicas y espejismos? ¿O tal vez simplemente no entendemos lo suficientemente bien el comportamiento y las características de los habitantes de este lugar? Estas preguntas requieren más estudio, ya que los misterios del lago Ness no se limitan solo a las leyendas. Y, finalmente, la pregunta más importante, casi filosófica. Si Nessie es solo un producto de nuestra imaginación, ¿por qué esta imagen se ha vuelto tan popular? ¿Por qué el plesiosaurio, esa criatura marina extinta, se asocia con este lago? ¿Por qué el lago Ness ha atraído tanta fe e interés? ¿Qué tiene de especial este lugar que se ha convertido en un imán para los sueños, la fe en los milagros y la fantasía? Tal vez la respuesta radica en nuestra necesidad. Necesitamos lugares donde podamos dejar parte de nuestra fantasía, donde los milagros sean posibles. En un mundo que se vuelve cada vez más predecible, controlado por la tecnología y la ciencia, necesitamos rincones donde lo imposible aún sea posible. El lago Ness no es solo un gran lago de agua dulce, es un santuario para nuestra imaginación, un lugar donde nacen leyendas y continúa la búsqueda. La historia de la búsqueda de este monstruo enigmático no es solo el relato de una criatura oculta en las profundidades del lago. Es una historia sobre nosotros mismos, sobre nuestra curiosidad, nuestra fe en los milagros, nuestro deseo de comprender lo desconocido. Décadas de esfuerzos, incluso si no siempre han llevado a los resultados deseados, han traído enormes beneficios. Han estimulado el desarrollo de nuevas tecnologías para la investigación submarina, ampliado nuestro conocimiento sobre el ecosistema de este lago de agua dulce único. Nos han enseñado a distinguir los hechos de la ficción, a ver la verdad detrás de capas de leyendas y mistificaciones. La leyenda del monstruo del lago Ness probablemente nunca desaparecerá por completo. Y tal vez eso sea lo mejor. Mientras las personas miran las aguas oscuras y tranquilas y se preguntan, ¿y si en este lago realmente hay algo? Esta investigación aún no ha concluido, solo está pasando a un nuevo nivel de desarrollo. Esta nueva etapa es especialmente compleja y multifacética, porque en ella la línea entre la ciencia y el mito se vuelve tan delgada que a veces es difícil determinar dónde termina la realidad y dónde comienza la leyenda. Es precisamente aquí, en este espacio donde los hechos científicos chocan con las antiguas leyendas, y el conocimiento comprobado se entrelaza con las creencias, donde nace un verdadero enigma que requiere un estudio atento y profundo. En tal situación, es muy importante mantener la objetividad y la apertura, ya que es en este nivel donde a menudo surgen las preguntas más brillantes y complejas, para las cuales aún se deben encontrar respuestas. Expreso mi más sincero agradecimiento a todos los que se tomaron el tiempo de ver este episodio hasta el final. Su apoyo es un valor incalculable para nosotros, ya que gracias a él podemos continuar trabajando, buscando nuevos hechos y compartiendo con ustedes los resultados de nuestras investigaciones. Su me gusta, participación activa y suscripción al canal juegan un papel crucial en el desarrollo del proyecto y nos ayudan a alcanzar nuevas alturas. Y no olviden presionar la campanita. Esta simple acción les permitirá estar siempre al tanto de todos los nuevos eventos y episodios frescos. Así no se perderán ninguna noticia importante, ningún descubrimiento interesante, ninguna historia fascinante sobre los enigmas que nos rodean en este mundo complejo y sorprendente.